Let's now look for some more strategies and activities for writing skills. A best strategy for a teacher could be that he can expose his students to various kinds of writing strategies, and he can encourage them to choose which strategy might be more beneficial for the students. Students can work with those strategies and can decide for themselves that which strategy would work best for them. Regardless of the type of writing task, it is always useful to begin with the pre-writing stage. As I said earlier in a previous module, that pre-writing stage is actually a planning stage where students plan for their writing, they collect their ideas. For this stage, brainstorming could be a very important activity. Students may be given time within the classroom to brainstorm their ideas and share those ideas with others. And in this way, they could collect a huge material which a single student might not be able to gather in normal circumstances. Later on, students can utilize that information or material which is gathered from all of them to prepare a writing draft. The next one is listing. Listing is quite unlike to brainstorming, because listing can be quiet and can possibly be an individual activity, which brainstorming is not. The student is encouraged to produce as lengthy as possible a list of ideas which come to his mind regarding the subject matter he aims to write on. This is a very useful activity for those students who might be constrained by undue concern for expressing their thoughts in grammatically correct language. So those students who psychologically feel lack of confidence in their writing skills, this activity in advanced to writing stage could be very useful. Then clustering is another technique. This is slightly different from listing because it is focused on some central phrase or a clue which is given by the teacher or some other or from a book, and all the ideas which are written on a paper where that clue is given come from the student based on that clue, and he creates a cluster of ideas which address various dimensions of that subject matter, and the connection between those ideas is built on the free associations which come to the mind of the thinker or the learner regarding to that particular topic or subject matter. Completed clusters might look like spokes on a wheel, or it could take any other shape depending on the pattern of the organization of the ideas by the learner. Free writing is another pre-writing activity which is based on a writer or a learner's quest to write freely without any stop in the process. He writes on for a specified period of time without any considerations for grammar, punctuation or spelling, and sometimes even taking his pen away from the paper. So he has to write continuously for a certain period of time, usually as directed by the teacher or instructor. This activity produces raw material, but this could be useful in drafting writing activity later on. But it could also be useful in other ways as well. It could reduce students' lack of confidence in writing. Once they write down various things without any consideration for grammatical correctness, they could produce a better draft later on, and they can overcome those psychological problems or fears they might be confronting previously. And this activity can work really well if a teacher provides some clues at the beginning of the activity. Collaborative drafting is another activity which could be done between teacher and the students, or between the groups of the students. They produce certain drafts collaboratively with the help of each other instead of doing it individually. Then revising could be done by reformatting the already longer draft of writing, cutting that into pieces and asking students to reorganize based on their understanding of the writing, or rewriting such drafts as well. This could possibly be done. Peer reviewing is another activity which could be implied, and in this regard we could use color coding activities. For example, there could be different colors allotted to different kinds of feedback, or different kinds of errors that a peer might see in the writing. For example, green could be used for those ideas which the peer understood properly, yellow dot for the questions, and red dot for the confusion, or those areas or inaccuracies which students couldn't understand, or he or she thinks are not correct. Editing. For editing, students may use teacher-produced checklist, and this could be really helpful in many learning contexts. These checklists are provided by the teacher. Role play writing is another good activity. It's very motivating for new learners, because it provides them an opportunity to be an imaginary person and interact with an imaginary person while performing a role play in writing. Then postcard writing, postcards to friends and then receiving their replies can be another activity which could be generated in a classroom, and it can also be very good from motivation point of view. Text lingo is using mobile technology for creating a writing skill activity. Students might be asked to write to their friends on text messaging patterns, or by using mobiles, actually, if all of them have them. So this could help them in not only in knowing text language, but also to practice other forms of writing.